In this podcast episode, journalist Liz Collin provides a comprehensive update on the state of Minnesota 5 years after the death of George Floyd, touching on the political assassinations that have rocked the state, the ongoing turmoil in Minneapolis, and the controversial leadership of Governor Tim Walz. The discussion opens with a shocking account of a recent violent spree in Minnesota involving Vance Belter, a man charged with the assassination of prominent Democratic lawmakers Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, as well as an attack on Senator John Hoffman and his family. Belter's actions were chillingly methodical. Disguised as a police officer with a latex mask and a fake police vehicle, he targeted legislators in the early hours of a June morning. Despite police presence during the shootings, Belter managed to escape through a back door, evading immediate capture and sparking the largest manhunt in Minnesota's history. Belter's background is as perplexing as his crimes. A father of 5 from a small town, he led a double life that included working at funeral homes with odd hours, renting a separate apartment in Minneapolis, and maintaining a hit list of about 60 names, mostly Democrats and abortion clinics. His writings and social media reveal ramblings and conspiracy-laden confessions, including bizarre claims implicating Governor Walz in orchestrating the attacks for political gain. Despite his apparent military and security training, much of Belter's history is shrouded in mystery, with law enforcement sources describing his life as a patchwork of inconsistencies and fabricated credentials. The hit list and his confession letter add layers of complexity, suggesting motives that defy simple explanation and hinting at deeper, unexplored threads. Liz Collin's narrative is deeply personal as well as professional. She recounts how the media landscape in Minnesota and across the country has deteriorated, with local news outlets shrinking or disappearing altogether. Collin herself was a victim of this shift. After the George Floyd incident, her husband, a longtime Minneapolis police officer and union president, called for patience and due process before rushing to judgment on the officers involved. This stance led to a backlash that cost both of them their jobs. Collin was effectively blacklisted from reporting on police and government matters, and her name was repeatedly linked to her husband in a way that undermined her journalistic independence. The couple faced protests at their home, including violent and threatening demonstrations, underscoring the toxic atmosphere that engulfed Minnesota's media and political environment. Collin's experience highlights the broader issue of media bias and the suppression of dissenting voices. She describes how editorial mandates shaped coverage, including restrictions on language, such as banning the term riots and requiring diversity quotas for interview subjects. The media's alignment with political narratives, particularly those favoring the Democratic establishment, contributed to a one-sided portrayal of events that left little room for nuance or truth. A significant portion of the conversation is devoted to reassessing the circumstances surrounding George Floyd's death, which ignited nationwide protests and a cultural reckoning. Collin challenges the dominant narrative that Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin, citing autopsy reports and body camera footage that suggest Floyd died of a drug overdose and underlying health issues, including an enlarged heart and a tumor. She points out that key evidence, such as the autopsy and EMS mishandling, was withheld or downplayed during the trial, and that race was not a factor in the legal proceedings. The interview exposes how political and media forces manipulated the story to fit a particular agenda, fueling unrest and enabling the rise of defund the police movements. Collin also sheds light on Floyd's troubled past, including criminal convictions and allegations of violent behavior, which were largely ignored in public discourse. The glorification of Floyd, including naming a baseball field after him and public school mandates to honor his memory, is portrayed as part of a broader inversion of societal values. Governor Tim Walz emerges as a central figure in the narrative of Minnesota's decline. Collin paints a portrait of a leader whose tenure has coincided with escalating violence, police shortages, and political chaos. She details Walz's controversial background, including his numerous trips to China, his apparent admiration for communist ideology, and suspicious activities during his time in the National Guard, such as the disappearance of sensitive military manuals. These revelations raise questions about his loyalties and fitness to govern. Under Walz's administration, Minneapolis has seen a dramatic increase in crime, including a near 40% reduction in police officers and a surge in carjackings and shootings. Despite public opposition, policies that effectively defund the police have been implemented, and the city's once vibrant downtown has become a shadow of its former self, plagued by boarded-up businesses, rampant crime, and social disorder. Collin criticizes Walz's handling of the George Floyd protests, accusing him of fanning the flames rather than restoring order, and highlights his close ties to other controversial figures like Attorney General Keith Ellison, who is described as openly anti-law enforcement. The city of Minneapolis, once known for its civility and prosperity, is described as unrecognizable and unsafe. Collin recounts daily scenes of violence, including shootings of children, rampant drug deals, and public disorder. The social fabric has frayed, with community groups replacing police in some neighborhoods but failing to provide effective protection. The exodus of residents to neighboring states like Iowa signals a loss of confidence in the city's future. Despite the bleak picture, Collin expresses cautious hope. She notes a growing willingness among Minnesotans to speak out and seek change, though the political and media establishment remains resistant. The departure of Black Lives Matter from the city and the disillusionment of many Black residents who now demand police protection underscore the complexity of the crisis. Throughout the interview, Liz Collin emphasizes the importance of truth-telling in the face of overwhelming misinformation and political manipulation. Her work with independent media outlets aims to fill the void left by mainstream news and provide a factual record of Minnesota's ongoing struggles. The conversation serves as a sobering reminder of how political agendas, media bias, and leadership failures can converge to devastate a community and erode public trust. Collin's account challenges listeners to reconsider widely accepted narratives about George Floyd, the Minneapolis riots, and the state's political leadership. It also underscores the urgent need for accountability and reform to restore safety, fairness, and integrity to Minnesota and, by extension, to American society as a whole.